All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking a pretty wild theory that's been bubbling up in some serious geopolitical circles. It's a story about the United States, its absolutely massive national debt, and a supposed secret plan to use crypto to hit the reset button on the entire global economy.
And it all kicked off with this. This quote comes from Anton Kobiakov, a senior advisor to Vladimir Putin, and he said it at the Eastern Economic Forum. I mean, talk about a bombshell accusation, right? He's basically claiming the U.S. has this grand plan to shove its entire national debt into what he calls a crypto cloud, and then just devalue it, leaving the rest of the world holding the bag. It sounds like a plot from a movie, but let's look at the number at the very center of all this. $37 trillion. It's a number so huge, it's honestly hard to even wrap your head around it. But that's the scale of the debt we're talking about. And the core argument of this whole theory is that a debt this big, well, you can't really pay it back in the normal way. You need a different kind of solution. So that leads us to the big question. Is this just some crazy conspiracy theory, political posturing? Or is there actually a plausible economic strategy hiding in plain sight here? To figure that out, we need to first understand the one key trick that would make this whole thing possible. And it all comes down to a concept called debt devaluation. And believe me, this is one of the oldest and most reliable tricks in the government playbook. Now, the important thing to get here is that devaluation is not the same as defaulting. It's not about just refusing to pay what you owe. Oh no, it's way more subtle than that. It's about paying back your creditors, but with money that is worth a lot less than the money you originally borrowed. And the magic ingredient to make that happen is inflation. Let's make this super simple with an analogy from the source material. Imagine the entire world economy is worth just $100. A country comes along and borrows all of it. Now, instead of working to pay it back, that country uses its special power, the ability to print money, and just creates another $100 bill. The world now has $200 chasing the same amount of stuff. So what happens? Everything basically gets twice as expensive. Now, the country pays back its original $100 loan, but that money, it only has half the buying power it used to. The debt is technically paid, but its real value got slashed in half. And look, this isn't some new radical idea. Not at all. Governments have been using this exact move for decades. We saw it after World War II to handle all that war debt. We saw it during the high inflation 70s. And heck, we just saw a version of it after the pandemic with all the new money that was created. It's a tried and true strategy when you're buried in debt. Okay, so if the US can already do this with the regular old dollar, why bring crypto into the picture? What's so special about digital currencies that makes them the perfect new weapon for this economic game? Well, the answer really comes down to one thing: who feels the pain? With traditional inflation, the pain hits home first. American citizens feel it at the pump, in the grocery store. You get the idea. But with a system built around dollar-pegged stablecoins, you can actually export that pain across the entire planet. Here's the mechanics of it. Most of the big stablecoins, like USDC or USDT, are backed by US government debt, treasury bills. So what that means is every single time someone in, say, Brazil or Vietnam uses a digital dollar, they are indirectly helping to finance America's debt. So when the U.S. decides to inflate the dollar to devalue that debt, the loss in buying power isn't just an American problem. It's felt by everybody in the world holding those digital dollars. It becomes a kind of global shared tax. And here's the really clever part, according to this theory. These stablecoins can be issued by private companies, like a Circle or a Tether. They don't have the same political stink as a central bank digital currency. It gives a powerful government tool a friendly, innovative tech company face. So this brings us to the core of how this would actually play out. You can't just announce a plan like this, right? The world would completely panic. So how could you do it quietly? Well, the theory points to something called a private backdoor. And make no mistake, the world is already nervous. You just have to look at what central banks are doing. They are buying physical gold at a rate we haven't seen in decades. They're running for cover, heading straight for the oldest safe haven asset in the book because they don't fully trust the current system, let alone some new digital one. And why are they so jumpy? Well, because they have long memories. They remember 1971, when President Nixon just went on TV and unilaterally severed the dollar's link to gold. He changed the rules of the entire global financial system overnight. The world learned a hard lesson that day. A promise from the US isn't always permanent. So the idea of a new digital system based on trust us? Yeah, that's a tough sell.
So the theory says to forget about some big public plan. Like Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy telling the government to sell all its gold and buy Bitcoin. That's too loud, too aggressive, it would spook everyone. Instead, the theory suggests a much quieter backdoor plan where private companies do all the initial legwork.
And here's how that playbook would allegedly work. First, you have private companies acting as proxies, snapping up strategic assets like Bitcoin. The government just lets them experiment, lets them build out the whole system. Then, once that network becomes critical, too big to fail, too important to ignore, the government steps in and basically nationalizes it, maybe by taking a big stake in those companies, kind of like it's done with other strategic industries. It's slow, it's subtle, and it's completely deniable, right up until the moment it's a done deal. Which, of course, leads us to the final and, frankly, pretty unsettling question. Is some kind of digital reset not just a possibility, but maybe inevitable? When you boil it all down, the conclusion from the source material is that for a country facing a $37 trillion problem, a move like this isn't a matter of if, but when. From a cold strategic point of view, it's presented as one of the only logical moves left on the chessboard to get out of an impossible financial corner. And that's the thought I want to leave you with. The incentive here is almost unbelievably powerful. If a nation believed it could press a digital reset button and solve its single biggest, most existential crisis, what force in the world, moral, political, or otherwise, would actually be strong enough to stop them from trying?